So what are we here for tonight? All right, democracy is hard work. It's hard work for the candidates because they have to stand up in front of the public, and they have to execute the will of the public, the will of the people when they're elected. And it's hard for the people because, first of all, you've got to figure out what you want, and then you've got to communicate it. And that's what we're here tonight for. We're here to communicate, to talk, and to have a conversation. All right. All right. So for us, why are we doing this here at the Post? Why do we decide to do this? For us, it's a little personal. A lot of people have given their lives so that we can sit here in a group like this tonight, and we can have this discussion. And some of those people have been our friends. So I would expect everybody to be respectful of this process because it means a lot to us. All right, so for rules of engagement, we've got the candidates' names will be picked out of a hat by a member in the audience. That candidate, if they're here, will get 5 minutes to speak, give their platform, and then the audience will have 10 minutes to ask questions. If you've got a follow-up, ask your question right away, and then let somebody else have a question after that. I would ask the candidates not to cross-talk what candidate says, because there's a distinct advantage to the candidate who goes last. So don't take advantage of that, please. Just give your platform. Let's hear what you have to say, and then we'll have that dialogue. Carrington Thompson, he's the president of Hayden Halligan Media. He's also a great community asset. He does a lot of public service announcements for us and for a lot of the other nonprofit organizations. You also hear his voice on Fred Radio 105 and Rascal 1330, and he's agreed to monitor, or to moderate, I guess would be the word. It's not debate, so it's not really moderate, to proctor this process. So again, thank you all for coming. Let's give Carrington a hand for doing it.
Well, as Bill said, there's not a whole lot to do. The thing you're going to hear most is the duck or the alarm from the phone. So set it for 5 minutes, and I'll let you hear what it sounds like. So we always find the little levity helps the process. So what we'll do is we will draw a name from the hat, and one of the things that Bill didn't mention is that all of the names are in envelopes, and all the envelopes are the same size, so we can't tell whose name is being drawn. So we will let a member of the audience draw the first envelope. We will let you know Allison Coltrane, who's one of the candidates for the town council, is running late. She runs a hostel here in town, and she had a group of hikers who came in at the very last minute. So she's helping situate them, and then she will come in when she's able to. So Bill, with your permission, I would think that if we draw her name before she arrives, we'll put her name back in the hat. Is that correct? Is that agreeable to everyone? Okay. Who would like to draw the first name? Okay. Go ahead and open it, please.
Mark Malone.
Mark Malone. Before Mark starts, before we start the timer, Mark is a candidate for mayor for the town of Luray. We'd also ask our other candidates who are here to stand up and just introduce themselves if they would. Leah, we'll start with you.
I'm Leah Pence, and I'm running for town council.
Leroy?
I'm Leroy Lancaster, and I'm running for town council. I'm Gail Kyle, and I'm running for town council.
I'm Joey Sowers, and I'm running for town council.
And
I'm Allison Coltrane, and I'm running for town
council. So we already explained that you had some hikers who came in. Yes. So thank you very much. So with that, Mark, I'm going to start the timer. You'll have 5 minutes to present your ideas. Then at the end of 5 minutes, then we will open the floor to questions for 10 minutes. Go.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. My name's Mark Malone. I'm running for mayor of Luray. 3 or 4 quick things before I get into that, but we're going to have tables over here. After the meeting, I'll have a flyer that I've been passing out. Got these little Mayor Mark wristbands in bulldog maroon and gray. And there'll be yard signs if you're interested in that. But most especially, I wanted to make sure that I say how much I appreciate your vote on November the 8th. Quickly about ourselves, Mary and I moved here about 6 years ago. We've got a beautiful home on South Court Street, and we have 2 daughters, Madison and Fiona. Madison graduated from Luray High a few years ago, and Fiona's a senior this year. Educational background, I've got a master's degree in business administration. I also have a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics. I was interested in public accounting. I had to take 10 more courses in accounting to be able to sit for the CPA exam. I did that. I was fortunate enough to pass the exam the one time I took it. Was a licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana for a number of years. Work experience. I got 40 years plus of work experience. Done everything from union jobs. I shipped out a couple of times, SIU. I worked on the Penn Central Railroad. Sold drilling fluids to drilling companies, both onshore and offshore rigs. I worked fast food restaurant. As I said, I was in public accounting, but I also worked for the city of New Orleans for 4 years, so I know what it's like to be a civil servant. After those, I went to work with a major holding company for electric power companies in the South. I was corporate planning there, worked on budget work, goal setting, things like that. I was then given an opportunity through Fannie Mae here in DC, where they took people that had background in finance and gave them an opportunity to learn skills in technology. And I went through that training course and led software development teams for a few years. I'm in the Luray Rotary Club as a past president. Been on the Luray Planning Commission for 4 years. I'm on the board for Performing Arts of Luray, and I'm treasurer. And recently, Mary and I joined the Christ Episcopal Church here in Luray. Okay, so why am I running? Well, when I first got here, I was interested in finding out what are Luray's plans for its future. And about 4 years ago, there was a council election, and a couple of folks that were on the Luray Planning Commission got to be on the council, left a couple of seats vacant. I started asking around, well, how do I get on the planning commission? Because I figured that's where the planning commission is. Next door neighbor, Alan Eldridge, helped me out with that. Got me in contact with Leroy Lancaster, who used his appointment to put me on, and I appreciate that very much. The 4 years that I've been there, I've seen a lot of things, parking issues, other zoning issues, bed and breakfast, things like that, but I haven't seen anything that's got to do with a short-term plan. So basically the primary reason I'm running, besides the regular duties of the mayor, I want to address the creation of a short-term action plan that focuses on job growth, revitalization of the downtown, and increased tourism. And I look forward to working with the town council, town employees, and members of the community in developing a plan that addresses those issues. And close.
1 second. Very good.
Okay, so questions and answers.
We set the timer. Go.
Bob Miller. Nice to see you, Mark. I have 2 questions. So you want me to ask one and then wait for the other?
Well, there should be 1 question, and then there can be a follow-up to his response.
Let's see, then I've got to think a little bit. Okay. So with the financial situation that Luray is in, not bad, not good, but pretty good. What is your fiduciary responsibilities for you to maintain that headwind? And what are your plans to still create that besides taxes?
There's a lot about town finances and all that I'm not really associated with. As an outsider, I haven't had a chance to find out where we are. We seem financially well off. The taxes haven't increased, but it's a concern to me that when I see residential property values, that's the only ones I'm familiar with, dropping, that's a concern to me as an individual homeowner. And I'd like to see how do you, what are we going to do to change things to get property values on the increase?
Follow up?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. I don't mean to sound abrupt, but I normally am. So in lieu of that, if you're elected mayor, were you going to really quickly get ahead of that? And other than taxes and growth that's kind of stagnant and economic development that is a ghost somewhere, how would you approach that?
I feel that Luray has to own its own economic development team. Right now, I think it's in the hands of the county, but I think we've got to take control of that. We've got firefighters that will go in and put out a burning building for free. I think we can get volunteers that will serve on Economic Development Board for Luray, doing what Luray needs. And I think that's an imperative to get started quickly. We've got a number of buildings, commercial buildings downtown, been vacant since I got here. I'm not sure how far before me they've been vacant, but there needs to be not only incentives in helping the folks out who've got them to get them occupied, but it also seems to me like there should be something that says you just can't leave the building vacant indefinitely. So there's ordinances. Other cities in Virginia have ordinances that deal with long-term vacant commercial properties. And I would like to see us investigate that. It's one of the things that we would do as part of this action.
Thank you, Mr. John. Yes, ma'am.
Eleanor Haynes, I'd like to know if you visited every shop on Main Street.
Have I?
Have you?
I've visited a lot of shops on Main Street. I don't know if I visited every one. But I certainly don't see anything wrong with that. Like I said, I've been in management for a lot of years, and one of the management styles is management by walking around, and learn a lot by dropping in and seeing what folks are doing from time to time. So I think that in discussing things with people, going door to door, there's a sense, it may just be perceived, but I mean a sense that there's a a division between people and government. And I sit on the planning commission, and a lot of times there really isn't anybody in the audience. Same thing, I go to a lot of town council meetings. I think they're better attended than the planning commission meetings, but there's still a long way to go as far as developing citizen participation. And what it is that causes that alienation, I'm not sure, but I think that things ought to be done to encourage people to come out, say what's on their minds. If what the town is working on isn't what you're looking for, go out and tell them. So I think that whether it's another meeting where the public comes out, just ask people to come out. Maybe you can meet once a month, just the mayor and whoever's interested. I don't like the mayor, what is it, the muffin with the mayor, it's like a coffee with the cop thing, but something similar. Something similar to that.
You might want to rebrand that.
Anyone else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
Luray and Navy, you talked about town development. I'd like to know what your vision for growth in Luray concerning increasing population since we live so close to these cities.
Thank you. I think increasing the population is a very important overall goal, but not just the population as a number itself, but also the mix of ages in that population. We have folks that are getting to a point where they want to downsize. So we need to have construction that's available, smaller units, things that they can move into. But in order for them to sell their homes, there has to be folks coming in that can buy the homes. So we need to have jobs that will encourage younger folks, young families to move into the area, as well as maybe other retirees from the DC area, places like that. But I think increasing town population, it seems to me like 5% or so in the next 10 years seems like a reasonable goal.
Tina Switzer. Speaking of vacant buildings, one that we actually own as the town of Luray, what are your thoughts for the Browns restaurant building?
Browns is a beautiful building to me. I think it's an anchor for downtown, and a lot of consideration needs to go into that. My own, when I see it, I see a restaurant downstairs. It still has a theater in it. Upstairs, I see a number of apartments or a micro hotel that's got balconies extending on the main street, running down the side of the building along the Hawksbill. I think it'd be a beautiful place. But there's other urban planners that can come in and talk about other options that are there for that building. But I think it's an incredible opportunity for the town to anchor that particular location.
We have about a minute and a half left for questions from Juan.
Quarterly Derek, what makes you think that you could be a better mayor than your opponent?
That's a tough question because I know me, and I can talk for me. And I've got a lot of background in planning, budgets, that type of thing. I work well with all kind of people. I have throughout my career, and I know I would be good at it. Saying that you're better than somebody else, that's an evaluation that'll happen on November the 8th. but I'm certain I can take care of my vision for the town.
We have 13 seconds left. How do you want to stay? Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, who would like to draw the next envelope? Lou, how about you? You can go on, please.
Allison Coltrane.
I was hoping to hear some more.
Good evening, and I appreciate your patience as far as my tardiness. I just had picked up 3 hikers from the trailhead a little after 5, about 5:30, brought them back to the hostel, had an Airbnb guest come in, and then right after that, 5 more showed up. But that's a really good thing. Not just for me and my business, but for the town of Luray, because it's bringing in, as a small business owner, bringing in tourist dollars. Because what I was doing afterwards was taking them out to a restaurant, transporting them out so that they could spend their dollars here in town. So that helps the tax base. So I said, my name is Allison Coltrane. I transplanted here 30 years ago. And I say transplanted because while I wasn't born and raised here, I have roots and deeply entrenched in this community. Over the past 3 decades, I've watched this sleepy little town transform. Community development or involvement is very important to me. I've worked with our local Habitat for Humanity, Earth Day on the Greenway, Bluemont Concert Series, and Performing Arts Luray. I'm actively involved with the Trackside Theater, the Community Thanksgiving Dinner at the American Legion, and the Music Boosters at Luray High School. My work experiences, I've been a full-time teacher here in our county and in Harrisonburg while living here. I've trained foster parents for children in our county and coordinated the Christmas gift program when I worked for Page County Department of Social Services. I'm still an educator here in Luray as a substitute teacher for the middle school and the high school. You see, I left full-time employment to follow my dream of opening the hostel. For those unfamiliar with what a hostel is, it's kind of like a bed and breakfast, but they make their own bed and they make their own breakfast. When I decided to become a small business owner, I could have gone just about anywhere. There's nothing really that's tying me here other than my own desire to be here. I wanted to stay home, and I had enough confidence in this community to realize my dream. That confidence was well placed, as I have received nothing but support. My business reaches a small niche that previously was underserved. The hiker, biker, outdoor enthusiast, and a traveler on a budget. People who want to come in and experience all that Luray and Page County has to offer, and that are willing to spend their dollars here. Each month, I go into the town office of Luray and happily pay my lodging tax, as I know that my business is being successful and I'm helping our town grow one of its biggest assets, that being tourism. I decided to run for Luray Town Council because residents need choices for their leadership. I listen, I interact, I learn, and I question. If elected, I expect my neighbors and friends to talk with me about what it is that they want, what they feel that they need to make this place even better, and how they would like the council to fulfill those desires. I feel like there are many resources that we aren't tapping into yet that could help Luray become the best that it can be. And I'm willing to work with the people to find out how to acquire those resources.
You have a minute and 45 seconds.
Minute and 45 seconds. Can we go to the question and answer?
Yes, we can. Bill, that's permissible, right?
Yes.
Okay, you hold on 1 second. Okay, we're now going to set for question and answer time for 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Eleanor?
I asked the same question of you as I did Mark. I'm asking because a certain retail person asked me to ask this question. She has never seen an elected official inside her shop. I would like to know how you would approach this if you're elected about doing, getting to know the business people in downtown Luray.
I appreciate that embellishment as far as why the question was posed. When you asked that to Mark, I had to stop and think, have I been to every business on Main Street? And I think that I have. I think that I've gone in, I've looked around, I'm familiar with what our storefronts are and what they contain. As far as if I'm elected, I continue to shop our local retail merchants and stores and go in and find out what's going on. And probably, if I'm elected, I'll go in and find out what it is that those store owners want, what they're looking for, what we can do to improve, what we can accomplish together. Because it does take the entire community to work together to come up with ways and means of making Luray even better, a better place.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Eric Johnson. I'm a young teacher in the county, and I love it here, but it seems like there's not a lot to keep young people permanently in the county. It seems like you're doing a lot to get young people temporarily in the county. So if elected, what would you do to have permanent residents?
Good question. I think that there are some avenues to explore, may have been explored in the past and then put on the back burner. Things that I would like to see that would help with families and young folks. We have a few community events, the music on the plaza and at the BB&T. Wonderful. I'd like to see coordination of those events so that it's not a feast or famine where everything's going on the same weekend. To coordinate schedules so that there's more that for young folks to do. I would like to see, personally, I'd like to see a dog park. I would like to see a community swimming pool. And those things I think are projects that we can work on. I think there's grant funding that's out there. There's ways, means of getting those things. I'd like to see the use of the pocket parks that we've got. Floyd, Virginia has their downtown, Main Street, set up so that there's little sections where people can come and bring their musical instruments and just have a jam on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, or and a place to meet and greet. I'd like to see sidewalks such that we can have outdoor seating, even more than what East 55 is able to offer on that side venue. That is a welcoming thing. Things along that line that would embrace and bring people downtown and into town and into Luray that we can enjoy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Drummond.
I'm very interested. I live in town, right?
Yes, you do, Bob.
All right. Thank you for taking my question. When it comes down to the capital that Luray town has to use with, and its future capital improvements in Luray, such as water pipes and et cetera, the big money. What's your view on how you can improve our cash position?
I think that a way to improve the cash position would be to improve the storefronts, the number of buildings that are being used and utilized to their best potential. With that influx of business, small businesses, comes cash flow. Cash flow then turns into additional revenue that we can use to improve. And so it's a cycle. After that, I will have to investigate some more.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Allison? Yes, sir.
I'm interested in knowing what your commitment is to extending the Greenway up to Ralph Dean Park.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I know that there's been grant funding that's been available, that as far as I remember correctly, It hasn't been fully sought. It's there, it's available. I think Liz was working with LDI, that the grants were available, and something happened and it came to a halt. But I would really like to see that finished as well, to have a full walking trail available to the community and residents. That is one of our most utilized assets that we have in town.
Yes, ma'am. Kelly?
Hi. Part of that grant money, to follow up on Chris's question, was the Walk to School grant. I would love to see the Greenway extended. I'm not sure how I feel about using Walk to School money to fund the Greenway when kids every morning, I drive my son to school at Luray High School, and there's multiple children walking along Leedsville Road. So I guess my question is, do you feel that improving our sidewalks, taking poles out of the middle of sidewalks, extending the sidewalk to Hilldale, where you live, tons of kids live, people walk through there every day, or using that money to improve the Greenway?
I think that both can be done. Maybe not with the same money, obviously not with the same money, but I think that if we have the money that's for the walk to schools, I think that's where it needs to be used and utilized, so that our children are safe. And there are usable sidewalks and extended sidewalks. And I think that there are other avenues and funding sources that can help with the Greenway that we may not have tapped into yet.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned storefronts and small businesses. What about other kinds of businesses, like offices or people who maybe have small businesses that primarily have a telebusiness where, it's more of a remote kind of setup? What about other kinds of businesses that might come to Luray? What would be the strategy for
Attracting them? Getting the Wi-Fi. Getting the town Wi-Fi up to speed. And I personally not up to speed as far as how that needs to be done, but I think we need to have better internet band available to the town. And we'd definitely investigate and find out what we need to do to help that. And then that would if we've got the assets that folks need for their small businesses, then they'll come. And I think that's one of the things we need to focus on.
Any other questions for Allison?
Not certain if there's anything else that I can say other than I would appreciate your support on November 8th. If I'm elected, fabulous. If not, I'll still help. Still working.
Thank you, Allison. Who would like to draw the next name? Thank you, Leslie. How do you like our hat? It's not just a hat, it's a helmet.
Thank you to the VFW for continuing to service our community and provide this opportunity for everyone. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our community to come together. I also wanted to thank the fact that there are 9 people running for 4 positions this year is an excellent sign that everyone in the community, I think, wants some progression to take place within our town. So thank you for being here as well. And thanks for my fellow candidates for being willing to serve. It means a lot to me personally that you would be willing to volunteer your time to the town council or already have. So thank you. My name is Leah Pence, and I'm originally from Page County, but I have experience living in large cities and overseas through serving as a Peace Corps volunteer. I returned to Page County 2 years ago as I wanted to be closer to my family and I was ready to put down roots. I chose to move here because I love it here. I worked my way through school, starting at community college and eventually obtaining a graduate degree from Columbia University. As a first-generation college student, I'm very proud of my education, but it does not qualify me to be a town council person. The reason I'm qualified to be a town council person is because I'm highly involved in the community. I also have experience with community development, and I possess strong business sense and forward thinking. I'm here tonight not only to talk, but importantly, I have been walking the walk. In preparation of pursuing a business in Luray, I began to research the town policies and codes to ensure that I was in line with the town code as I opened my business. In preparation to start construction, I learned that in order to meet the code, I was going to have to remove a large amount of green space in order to provide parking. I realized that several businesses did not meet the town code, and in fact, the code was being largely ignored. I thought that the code would be quickly updated once I brought this to the town administration. But 4 months later, it had still not come before the town council. Many months later, the town code was eventually changed thanks to the work of several individuals, including Opportunity Luray and Jason Pettit, who worked with me to help the town change the code. Because of this code, Baby Moon's, Moonshadow Restaurant, and the Hotel Lawrence were able to take advantage of the updated code. The town needs to be more business friendly if it plans to attract more businesses. We are one of the few remaining HUD zones near DC. We have the potential to attract businesses large and small. But we need to understand that industry is no longer our future. We need to work to attract technology-based jobs, as Allison stated. A call center would be ideal. They provide full-time jobs, hire people with diverse skill sets, and offer year-round employment. I would like to see the town hire an economic development person who is working full-time to bring business to our community. The increased tax revenue that business would bring would pay for itself in the upcoming years. Our largest employment sector in the county is tourism. It is also the largest growing sector. We need to continue to bring tourist-based jobs to the community. There are several grassroots efforts in town, one of which is led by Southport Inn owner Adelaide Osmers, who is here tonight. She would like to see the community become a dark skies community. A dark skies community is dedicated to reducing light pollution in order to see more stars. Tourists are a great asset to our community, and they spend money to increase the town's income through hotel lodging, and the best part is they do not use our schools nor put a drain on our services. Most towns would give their right hand to have a natural resource. We are very fortunate in that we have two, the Luray Caverns and the Skyline Drive. We need to, as a town, maximize the benefits that these two industries are bringing to our town. We need to offer more services to our restaurants, or to our residents additionally. You can tell what I have on my mind. A recreation center is something that I've heard numerous people ask for. We need a feasibility study done on a park as well as a dog park. The town is accountable to its citizens to make reasonable fiscal decisions, but currently these requests have never been fully considered. I've never seen a feasibility study on a recreation center. We need strong leaders who are willing to listen to citizens and move the town forward to redevelop our once thriving community. Lastly, I think it is important to improve our communication with many who are in the town. We do not utilize our Facebook page for the town, nor our town website as much as we could. It is our responsibility to make sure that I'll stop there. Thank you.
We'll be able to go ahead and start your 10-minute timer for questions.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for coming and having us here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
When it comes down to, and this is my disclaimer,
Sure.
I think that initiatives for the children, the adults, the people, and the tourists coming to town is an absolute genius move. No buts. I ask you now, though, how would you raise the funds? And I'm going to apologize right up front. I don't mean grants or that mechanism or what have you, but how would you increase the funding for our town, that's in dollars, that we could then afford these programs?
I have spent some time thinking about this. Two, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game from two perspectives. One is that we have to have increased business, we have to have increased resident base in order to increase the overall income within the town. The second is that we have to diversify our sources of income. Currently, we have primarily two sources. One is tourist tax through TOT, through lodging. The second is our residential tax that is coming into the town. There have been talks about an attraction tax. It's true. The attraction tax would be a tax that is taxing any attraction in town. So whether that's a movie that you go to see, whether that's playing putt-putt golf, whether that's going down a zip line, or whether that's going to Luray Caverns. If you could imagine paying 25 cents more per ticket to all of those entities, imagine the revenue that would be created by that. So that is a consideration. That would be a vote that would require more members, but I would be supportive of being more creative about thinking about the ways in which we are finding funding in town, because increasing the revenue on individuals, I don't think is the answer, but we have to have more of everything in order to have more of everything. Go ahead.
Follow up, please.
Yes, sir.
Being a business person in the town, I'll try not to turn this into being an editorial. The town fathers and mothers decided that a tourist tax would be appropriate, raise money, funds would come in, and that would be a source of income that we could develop into a financial suitcase, if you will, to fund these things. Well, as all these citizens will tell you, that's not a tourist tax. We live here, but we still pay that tax.
Are you talking about a TOT tax? I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with what tax you're talking about.
It's above the sales tax, and it was tacked on to the sales of, like mine is food.
Yes, for Paris food tax.
For meals tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah, so meals tax is similar to an attraction tax. It's a tax that you pay for the luxury of being able to go and do things, in my
And
opinion.
for Kings Dominion, I understand that. For Shenandoah National Park, I got you. The caverns, probably there'd be blood on the floor, but I understand that. But that's another tax on the citizens that are still paying the money for the, I'm not going to call it celebrity, but for the, get the use of greenways or things you mentioned and others have mentioned, and I understand that. But it's still a tax on the taxpayers.
It is a tax on the taxpayers for certain, But I would say that, you know, I'm going to be in the restaurant business in a very short time. I won't be in the business of serving food. I'll be in the business of providing an experience, and you pay for that experience in the form of a tax, in my opinion. And I do believe that it is unfair to raise everyone's tax base when we could collect taxes from multiple sources, including a food tax. Bob, I am ashamed to publicly admit this, but I eat fast food on a regular basis, and I can assure you that that tax has never stopped me from eating, nor has it stopped me from eating anywhere else in town. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Will the Dillon rule allow you to put 25 cents on the cameras?
So the town is allowed to develop taxes like that. The county is not. There's a difference there. The county does not have that right, but the town does.
Why hasn't the Dillon rule been circumvented for the past 30 or 40 years?
I arrived here 2 years ago and didn't know anything about it prior than last year.
The answer is that Richmond kills it every time.
It is true, but they can't kill things in town, which is the difference, because we don't have to go to Richmond.
Actually, they can't. And I'm not in the town, so I apologize for interrupting, but that is wrong.
That has not been my understanding in speaking to the Luray Caverns about it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John Lamberger, I'm a property owner and a business owner in downtown Luray. Leah, assuming that you are elected to town council, what do you intend to do to offer the citizens of Luray online bill payment?
So this has been something that we've talked about in Opportunity Luray, which is a grassroots organization. In Stanley, you can pay your bills online. There is a processing fee. I would like to see the town of Luray consider the same thing. Pay it online, you pay the processing fee. We have to be able to pay for convenience, if that's what we would like to do. I guess the other question is how many people are paying late because they can't pay in person? You know, is that a large enough number that it makes sense to just reduce the fee? That's not information I have privy to, but I think that would be great to be able to pay online.
Yes, sir.
Richard Lawrence, District 1. You spoke about the Dark Skies Initiative. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how you would go about accomplishing that?
So the Dark Skies Initiative is an initiative to bring communities to reduce their light pollution. And in town, we have a few violators, if you will. The Marlowe Ford lighting is very bright. You can notice it from the Skyline Drive. In addition to the Government Center building lighting here in town as well, and then Walmart, of course. So those are our three sort of biggest quote violators in town as far as what you can see that affects the view from the Skyline National Park. But the group is basically, would be a grassroots organization that would develop here, and we would start basically just asking people, hey, are you familiar with this? Would you be willing to participate? It's of course something that can be legislative unless the town puts an ordinance into their code about the lighting, which we do have some codes about lighting if you read through it, but not that they are in violation of that.
Yes, sir.
David Nagy, I would just be curious to know what you would do about that train whistle.
I actually prepared a statement because I knew that would come up. Here we go. So back to my point about being a tourist town. For a tourist town, then we have to fall in line with what brings us money, which is tourism. As I read reviews online from hotels, bed and breakfasts, and in talking to several community members as I've gone door to door, it is clear to me that the town fire whistle is negatively impacting some people in town. Not all, but some. It is also very clear to me that the train whistle is like the most valuable thing to every citizen I've ever ran into. Because it's cultural. It's not actually an alarm anymore. It's more of our tradition. It's more of our culture. And as somebody who is into preserving history, I understand and value culture. What I would think that I would like to see done is a compromise. Can we keep the noon whistle, which is a great tradition, and can we forgo the alarms? Can we forgo the midnight having people jump out of bed in the hotels thinking that it's an air raid siren? Can we have it not interrupt weddings that take place in the back of the Mimslam? It is a very hot topic button. If it were to come before me as an individual, I would support a noon bell. I'm not willing to let go of our tradition. I love the tradition, but I do think that it is bothersome to many people in town.
Okay, we have about 40 seconds left.
Train whistle.
Train?
Sorry. Oh, train whistle. This is what happens when you prepare too much. The train whistle, the same thing. There's a silent zone that actually is enacted in Culpeper where the train cannot blow the whistle in town. I would like to see a similar thing done in the town proper. Outside of town, I think it's wonderful. My father grew up next to a train, and I grew up across the river from a train. But I think in town there's a proper place and time, and if we can get our crosswalks to actually, the cross guards to actually go down, I think it would be nice to not have the train whistle in town.
Okay, we have 4 seconds.
Thank you for your time and thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay, would you like to draw the next? Okay. Go ahead and open it, please.
Oh, Leroy, it's not you. Very frustrated, so it's not you.
Okay, Barry. Is Barry here? Right. Let's draw another name. Bonnie, would you like to draw one?
Joey Sowers.
Joey Sowers for 10 points.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Bill, VFW Post, 621, and everyone else involved in making this happen. For those that don't know me, I'm Joey Sowers. I was born and raised here in Luray. Two hardworking parents. Grew up in a small trailer over in Stony, Maine, actually. Both my parents worked at Wrangler for a number of years. Until my 15, 16-year-old, my mom got a job at the post office. And neither of them ever had the opportunity, neither of them ever had the opportunity for higher education, but from a very early age, they instilled in me a value for higher education. I was the first in my family, sounds like Leah as well. So, first in my family to attend college, graduated, later on received a master's degree in business. And after college, I moved back here and married my wife, Elizabeth. Shortly thereafter, we've been married for 12 years this December the 18th. We had a 5-year plan. It turned into more like a 7-year plan for kids. We wanted to travel. We saw all 50 states by the time we turned 30. That was a goal we had. We did some traveling internationally. And then we came back home. Came back to the right. Have 2 kids now. My son, Bryce, is 4 years old. He just turned 4. And my daughter, Imogen, she just turned 1. For my work, in addition to being on town council, I'm currently on council. I was on the planning commission prior to that. For work, I got into management, had a few different management jobs, particularly in the coffee industry, and I moved into doing consulting work. I've been doing that for a number of years. My most recent client, in the 2.5 years I've been with them, we've doubled sales and increased the bottom line by, this year we'll make $500,000 over when I start this. What I do is I come in, help them develop their plan or refine the plan if they don't have it, dig into their finances and take a real good look at where they are and what they need to do. Back to my kids. So among their favorite things to do in the whole world is to get up on daddy's shoulders and ride around. I'll take them around the yard and they just laugh and laugh. But I don't just want them to ride on my shoulders for fun. I want them to stand on my shoulders in life. Just like my parents had a vision and goals in life that maybe they didn't have the opportunity to achieve. I want that for my kids. I have things that I haven't been able to achieve for one reason or another, or maybe I still will. But either way, I want them to stand on my shoulders in life and give them every opportunity for success in life. Now, why do I tell you that? Because that's really why I'm on council. That's why I ran 4 years ago. And that's why I stand here before you again and ask for your vote on November the 8th. I don't just want that for my children, but I want it for your children. And I want it for your grandchildren. And for our future posterity to stand on the shoulders of the things that we achieve today. Or maybe we don't achieve it, but maybe we just get to the point where they have the opportunity to achieve those things. Now, how do we do that? I believe we do that by 3 basic things. Fiscal conservatism. We return a balanced budget year in and year out. And we need to do that without raising taxes. If we raise taxes, what we're going to do is going to make it harder for people to come move to Luray. And what are they going to do? They're going to go right outside the border and say, thank you very much for all these services. I'll put my house right here, and I'll still enjoy the greenway. I'll still enjoy everything else, but I'm not going to pay that additional town tax. So we need to keep our taxes in check. We also need to be reducing debt. We have a number of things that we've done, the ball fields, and in recent years, as times have gotten a little tougher, oh my goodness, we've reduced some of our debt reduction. And we need to get back on track with that, especially as we have a bridge project coming up that has some unknowns to it still. We'll know a lot more come February. Actually, mid-January, we should know what we're looking at for some grant funding. But either way, we need to start reducing the debts that we have. We need job growth. We need to work greater and tighter with LDI, with the EDA, with the chamber, and with local businesses to come up with a plan to attract Northern Virginia businesses to the town of Luray and to attract local entrepreneurs, to encourage them to start a business in Luray. And third, once we've reduced the debt, once we've increased our job growth in the town, then we can start focusing on increasing our infrastructure, like a greenway extension, or parks, or whatever it might be. I see my time's almost up. Would we all like a community pool? Of course. But without job growth and without a balanced, secure, tight budget, that's going to be very difficult. So I want us to do things in the right way, grow organically, and let our children and grandchildren stand on our achievements. Thank you.
Okay, we now have a 10-minute period for questions for you.
John?
Joey, I read your article in the paper. You're pro-business. I'm not going to lie, I like that. I also know that Opportunity Luray went to a lot of trouble to write up a business plan, a strategic plan that could be adopted by the town, but that's now landed out into some other organization. It's not with the town council. I've read it, and it's basically a bunch of bullet points. It lacks a timeline. It lacks any accountability. And my question specifically to you, assuming that those two other things might be fixed on a future date, is what initially would you do to create an incentive package to bring either tourism-based businesses or clean technology businesses to Luray to achieve goals you just mapped out?
A lot of my focus is, now tourism, I think that's a natural extension of what we already do, and I think we can certainly attract that. Cooters, I see our man back here who had a lot to do with bringing cooters to town. That's great, David. Isn't it funny that how that happened as much as anything was simple dialogue, wasn't it? It was just kind of a random throw it out there, a simple invitation and turned into bringing a business. And man, a lot of times that's all it takes. It takes that network, that touch point. In my mind and in my vision, I've talked it over with John Meany as well. I think we need to help people in Northern Virginia, help them see that they need to maybe redefine quality of life. Is quality of life defined by having 13 Thai restaurants within a 1 mile radius? Or is it defined by not having a 2-hour commute? You know, Northern Virginia has the longest average commute in the entire nation. The entire nation. And what do we have here? How's your commute? If you work locally, how's your commute? You can ride your bike to work if you want. You have beautiful scenery, no pollution and all the noise. Just simple life here. And we don't want to lose that. We don't want to bring in a bunch of Northern Virginia businesses and lose our identity and lose what's made Luray special for all these years. But I think that we can help frame quality of life a little differently and market that in conjunction with LDI, EDA, Chamber, and other businesses that might want to get involved in some manner to help market that both through things as simple as a triathlon or through direct marketing. I know that Stephanie already started on that. She had a simple flyer that basically alluded to that idea of the different definition of quality of life. I think we need to continue on that track. As far as tourism directly, I think we need to talk to some of our tourism experts and really see, better understand their needs. I don't know if taxing tourism would help them to come here. It's an interesting idea, but I'm not sure if that would be a good incentive for a tourist business to open up shop here. I think we need to find out what tourist business in particular need and try to meet those needs. And frankly, I don't know that because it's not something we've discussed at length yet, but I think it's a wonderful idea. Mr. Drumheller.
Thank you. What would you say is your 1 or 2 major accomplishments that you have driven through the town council, voted on to speak directly to what your ambitions are to serve again?
I'm very much for keeping taxes in check. Accomplishments, it's something small, but it's pretty fundamental. It's going line by line over the budget and really seeing, hey, okay, so here's how much we're spending. Okay, here's how much we spent last year. All right, why is it the same, or why is it more, or why are we even spending that amount at all? And I took 2 days off of work this year to do it. Took 2 days to go through the budget line by line and really understand it. And in the upcoming year, what I want to do is take it to the next step. I really want, I think it would be valuable for all of the council members, maybe some of them right here, whoever was on the council at that time, to go line by line and have a greater insight into what drives that number. I have it on a somewhat fundamental level, but it needs to go deeper. And I think we really need to be able to drive down costs because we need to use our dollars smarter. They're not going to start leaping up. Our tax revenue isn't going to go through the roof anytime soon unless we raise taxes, which I don't think is the right move. But we're seeing some organic growth. We're seeing some revenue increases. New businesses are opening up on Main Street. But we really need to ensure that every single line item is value added for the townsfolk. So one of my accomplishments is just really focusing on the budget. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Mr. Nagy was ready to say that. Anyway, as it pertains to the budget, and there's no pun intended here, but when you guys went on your retreat,
are you speaking at the VML conference? Or?
And those are excellent, I might add. Those are excellent. Did you corral or discuss financial issues that enlightened the group that said, oh my, that's exactly where we need to go?
On a grand scale, no, but interestingly, we talked about things as simple as instead of using uniform companies that we're paying to get them to wash everything for us, or maybe the carpets and the like, we talked to some municipalities, and instead they have their own washing machine and their own dryer, and they're doing it themselves. They pay one of their employees a few hours a week. So it's simple things like that, and it's amazing the cost savings you can achieve. It's things like reevaluating our sources for toner. I know this is a very boring thing I'm talking about here, but it's evaluating things like where are we buying our printer toner? But when you buy 1,000 of them a year at a pretty high expense, it adds up. And if you start finding ways of where you can cut 30-40% off this line item, you can cut 30-40% off this line item, all of a sudden you've saved 2 pennies off your real estate tax that you can either reinvest somewhere else, or you can say, hey, guess what, folks? We're able to lower that if that's the right move. So it's those small incremental improvements that I think, frankly, we've done as a town. A lot of what I've said here is nothing new. It's things we've been working on as a town for the past 4 years I've been on. And I know prior to that, a lot of these things have been on people's minds. And we're just now starting to see the fruit of that labor as there are fewer shops closed along Main Street than I can ever remember since I was a kid, perhaps.
Yes, sir.
I believe a couple of months ago you voted in approval of a 77 first phase unit of low-income housing over by the golf course behind Walmart. My question to you is there a handle, or do you have an idea? Are these just going to be low-income people from Page County, or the rumor is that outsiders are going to be brought in from this company in the Roanoke Valley that's managing all this? So who exactly is going to live in this? County residents or outside people?
Well, I went and talked to a good friend of mine who has managed a property that utilized a lot of the similar tax credits in order to make it all the finances fit together. And he said, Joey, he's like, I don't want you to get my name out, but man, this community needs more of it. It's like, that is a good idea, because the reason that it's not going to get to be a madhouse, which I know that was some of the people that came there for that meeting, they were afraid it was just going to kind of bring in some unseemly things. There are a lot of checks and balances. In order to qualify for that program, even the residents, they need to have certain measurable objectives, and they need to keep a certain cleanliness and do certain things here and there in order to continue to live in that property. As far as them busing people in, I've never heard anything like that, but what I have heard is that there's a whole lot of people in this community that could sure use affordable housing.
I have a question sort of on that. I know 3 couples on my street alone that have gone to retirement housing outside the community here, one to Front Royal and 2 down to Bridgewater. And there seems to me to be a lack of housing for retired people, older people. And they have to leave the county, but they're taxpayers, they pay, but there's not a good amount of housing for them. They don't want to go into a nursing home because they're still very viable.
Well, that's a big movement right now in that entire industry, is people are living longer, it's in-home care. And if we can provide more affordable housing in our community, and that's why I voted in favor of that, and that's why I'll continue to vote in favor of affordable housing. it's providing that avenue and alternative
Is
to
there
nursing.
anything in the pipeline that any group that's interested in developing anything like that locally?
As far as affordable housing, I mean, People Incorporated is always trying to get something going. There's assisted living. I've heard rumors, but nothing that I can say that, yeah, as far as on my end, nothing's been brought to me. Thank you all so much for the questions.
Chris, how about you call the exit? Gail Kyle, for Town Council.
Hi, I'm Gail Kyle, and I am running for town council. I'm not sure I need the microphone. Can everyone hear me in the back?
You want it. You want it.
You want it. Use the mic? Yes. Okay. I've got a big mouth, so it makes it louder. Only when you laugh. I moved here in 1994, and I love living here. I feel like this is home. I tell people all the time I live in an absolutely charming place, and a place that I feel like changes every day. I'm living in a painting. And I love this community. I love Luray. I came here to, my husband and I were principals in a business, and I became the managing partner of that business. I sold the business in 2006. We kept our home here. We also had a home in Florida, moved back and forth, and we made a decision in 2008. We missed the mountains, we missed the people. I miss my friends here, although I'd made good friends and was involved in the community in Florida that we lived in, so we moved back. I also felt like I was a little bit too young to retire at that point in time. So I started another business. I started consulting with small businesses, bed and breakfast inns and restaurants. And eventually they brought me back to Luray, which is sort of cool. It was a big circle. I am from Mississippi originally. I've attended school and finished at Mississippi State University, and also attended Delta State University, home of the Fighting Okras. I haven't figured that one out yet. I took some courses later on in my life. I had a degree, a liberal arts degree. I decided I wanted to teach school, so I went back and took the coursework that I needed to take in Virginia, and I attended University of Virginia and also Mary Washington University. Martha Washington University, sorry about that. We were living in Northern Virginia at the time. Two of the courses I took were directly related to planning, to city planning, to zoning, and to figuring out. It was about the time that it was really imperative by this, it was ordered by the state that every community in town would have a comprehensive plan. And that was an interesting experience for us, because I was very involved with doing part of the mapping and comprehensive plan work for the city of Fredericksburg. And I learned a lot from that. I went on to teach government and history in high school. And I also was doing real estate on the side. It was like paying back loans for college still. A big issue for everyone now, for sure. I have had a lot of management experience. I've also had a lot of experience with accounting. Not that I really like numbers, but sometimes you just have to do it. When I moved here, I really changed horses literally, and managed the farm, and built a restaurant up, built our farm, our inn into, from a big fat red line into a nice solid black line, thanks to a lot of the folks in this room. So you are my family, basically, and I want to serve you as such. It's been a very interesting journey for me to decide to get into politics and all of that, because I lived here, and there's a level of frustration, I think, that a lot of people feel with the economy, basically, but also the lack of growth here, and the type of growth that we want to have in this community. I did a lot of research. I've done a lot of talking to people. I think one of the things that we need to do is have more community involvement. Part of my campaign has been talking and actually getting information from people and documenting it. What do you want? How do you want to see Luray grow? It's not about how I want to see it, but how does the community want to see that?
25 seconds.
25 seconds. In this last 25 seconds, I do want to thank the VFW for hosting us. I think this is absolutely a wonderful type of town meeting that I'd like to see occur on a regular basis in our town. Where, if you can't come to a council meeting, at least, you have an opportunity that we can meet and we can talk about issues that come up. And we can make some decisions about what we want to do.
You like the duck?
I like the duck. Okay.
This is a happy sound, isn't it?
It is.
All right. Okay, we'll now start your 10 minutes for questions. Yes, Kelly.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Kelly.
The town of Shenandoah gives Choices $500. The town of Stanley gives Choices $200 a year. It doesn't seem like much, but it means a lot to the women and children who use the shelter. The town of Luray used to give a donation to Choices every year, and no longer does that. It seemed to coincide with the town manager situation. I was just wondering if that was something that you felt, if you were on the board, that you would consider changing. And in that, I just also wanted to say that Choices in the month of September had 98 bed unit nights. So that means that over the course of the month, 98 people slept there in some form of women and children. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. I think that if the town did that before, I don't know why they stopped. I don't really know a lot. I've looked over the current budget. I don't really know the reasons why, as Joey talked about, they looked at some of the things in the budget and decided to discontinue those or cut them. I think helping those in our community is something that the town can do as much as we can. I think that's important because they are citizens here too. And, we've all been in circumstances sometimes where we needed help in hand. I think Choices is an asset to this town in that it shows that we really care. We're a caring community. And I think that there's something the town probably should reconsider. This donation to Choices.
Yes, sir, John.
Gail, same question I asked Joey. We've got a town plan. It'd be great to see that picked up, fleshed out, given a timeline, given some narrative. But what initially would you do if you were elected to town council to incentivize small business, tourism business, and clean tech business to come to this town?
That's a good question. I think that's a question that's a lot of people are thinking about and asking tonight. It bothers me a lot that we really don't have a strategic plan. We don't have a plan of action, not only for the short term, but for the long term. We do have some issues that we know that are coming up with some of the infrastructure in town, the sewer problems that we may run into fairly soon because it's an old system. Still have terracotta in the streets in a lot of places. And that will have to be addressed, and that's a very expensive proposition, I understand that. I think that we do need that plan. We need to take into consideration when you do a plan like that of the expectations. Where will business be? What type of business will it be? How will we attract that business? And we've already talked earlier, some of the other candidates have talked earlier about having our own economic development program in the town. And I think that is the answer. I don't think the council itself can do that. I think it has to be focused on an individual and a group of people willing to give their time and effort to develop an economic plan. It has a lot of facets to it, and it takes a lot of time to do it. It takes a lot of marketing. It takes a lot of like I said, a strategic plan in the first place, a timeline, when are we going to do it, and it also takes accountability. And quite frankly, I think that's been lacking in the town, is some accountability of why are decisions made and how are they made. I sometimes wonder, I go to town council meetings sometimes too, and it'd be helpful sometimes if I even knew what the agenda was going to be beforehand. I think at some point in time it used to be published in the newspaper so that people knew, what to be expected. Unfortunately, our website is not kept up to date, so it's hard to know if you go on the website exactly what's going on. And that's a shame. It's not that much of a big deal to keep a website up. I don't know if that's in the budget for paying someone to do it. I'm not an insider, so I don't know how all of that really comes together. But it is an interesting budget, and I do applaud the current council for certainly keeping it balanced. And that's a tough job. But it's sort of like you get in your car, you start driving. If you don't have a map, you don't really know where you're going. So we do need strategic planning. We need a strategic plan for this town.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to stand up here. It's my back.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, other people fight for my mouth. I don't have a question. I just want to congratulate you in talking about a strategic plan. The capital improvements that we spoke of earlier and has been spoken of for a long time. And in regard to the new water line up Fairview Road, that's going to kill us, it's going to put us under, and this, that, and the other. But it got accomplished. My quest for you is to continue that, if so elected, and to make it an ongoing discussion, if you can, and assign it to a committee, get to work on it. This is a beautiful town, beautiful facility, raised my children here, and I'd love if we were to stay here, of course. But that's so important to us because we don't have the funds for a major catastrophe.
That's exactly right. As far as I know, we don't. And that is scary. And without a plan, you won't ever have one. You've got to have some sort of strategic plan in place. We've also talked about some of the things that we can do, and I really didn't answer John's question fully. This is a big issue, and I know it involves the county, but we have the first step that a lot of towns would die to have, and that is we have the ability to have fiber optic in our town, which would mean a great deal in trying to get businesses to come to Luray. We only have, as far as I know, 2 entities hooked to that, and that's the high school. The high school is not, the hospital, I'm sorry, and the library. The trunk line runs right by Main Street. And I'll have to tell you a story. I need further bandwidth in my business that I manage here at the Hotel Lawrence. And I finally, after a lot of phone calls and anyway, got hold of someone who knew who to contact. And I contacted this person, and I asked them, what will it cost? And he said, oh, we'll put it in for you. You're only like 4 feet away from them. That's right. Sidewalk width. We're even willing to pay for putting it under the sidewalk, okay, if that's what we need to do. How much is it going to cost me a month? Anybody like to guess how much it was? $882 a month. Now, I was picking myself up off the floor. And I'm going, okay, can you name me any business in the surrounding area, Harrisonburg, any business in those areas that would pay that for internet service? Of course they can. But this is a problem. This is something we already have, but nobody seems to know what to do about it. And I think that's something that we need to explore. City council, even though it's a county problem, it really isn't because it's right on our streets. So we need to find out what we can do. Can you imagine? I believe that we would be able to bring some of the technology businesses we've been talking about into this town. I was speaking with someone the other day, and I think he's here, actually in the audience, about the fact that we are perfectly positioned to, and just in my other business, I know that this to be true. People like Amazon are looking for places to come to, small towns like ours. They employ a lot of people and they pay them very well. But what do? They ship things out. It's brought in, it's shipped back out. Also, packages that are returned. Has anybody ever wondered where if you send anything back that you ordered online, which is business now? Absolutely. It goes to some small town somewhere, it's processed and sent back out.
Less than that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Gail? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know your thoughts or opinions on something I think that a lot of us would like to see. It will surely help us, is the ability to pay our utility bills online.
I think I would love that. I personally have had my water turned off twice because I forgot to pay my bill. Why? Okay. Why? Because I pay my bills online. And I just don't think about it. It's just there. It goes into my bank account, it comes out. I can't understand it either. If a town like Shenandoah and like Stanley can do it, why can't we? I've asked that question to our manager, city manager, town manager. Didn't get a good answer. Thank you all for listening. And again, thank you for your time.
Liz Lewis. Liz isn't here either. Well, Tina, would you like to draw the final name?
Where is it going to be?
I'll always want to be last. I got my chance. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Luray. I was born and raised in Luray. I married a local girl 54 years ago. And we're still married. We have 2 sons, 2 grandsons. I started a business in 1975. Some people are looking for a part-time job. I'm looking for part-time retirement. I started going to town council meetings in the early 80s because I was interested in local government. I was appointed to the IDA by Mayor Dean. We worked on a bond issue for the expansion of Motley Nursing Home. Mayor Dean encouraged me to run for town council in 1988. I won that election and have served on the town council for the last 28 years. Since being on the town council, we have purchased the property and developed the Ralph Dean Recreation Park, the award-winning Hawksville Greenway, the water treatment plant. And this was a plant that had not been mandated for us to build at the time we built it. Had we waited until it was mandated, we probably wouldn't have got the grant money to do it with. We have 2 expansions to the waste treatment plant, which allowed us to reserve capacity for future development. The restoration of the Luray train station, which now houses the Chamber of Commerce, the LDI, and the Railroad Museum. These projects were done with help from grants. These grants were written by town staff and a few volunteers. We help bring work Fairfax to Luray and continue to support them. I'm a director and past president of Page Valley Fair. I'm the treasurer and past president of Broadhead Archery Club. I'm a life member of the Luray Fire Department with 30 years of service. I'm the chairman of Luray Page County Airport Authority. I'm a volunteer for Luray Triathlon, and I'm a member of St. Mark's Lutheran Church. My platform: I want to continue to hold the present tax rate. When I came on council, the real estate tax was 26 cents. The present rate is 29. That's a 3-cent increase. in 28 years. I don't feel that's bad. Yes, taxes did go up because of assessment increases. I want to see a better quality of life for the citizens. We can do this by continuing to try to attract businesses that would provide more jobs and higher wages. The town continues to support tourism. I want to see the tourism industry flourish in Luray. We must attract more tourists to Luray. Once a year, we need to feed them, entertain them, provide them with lodging, and when they leave, send them off with a smile on their face, waiting to return to Luray for the next vacation. I have not missed a town council meeting, a work session, or Virginia Municipal League meeting in 28 years. I'm dedicated. We decorate the town with banners and seasonal decoration, and Luray looks good. Thanks to the town staff, employees, and council, the town is financially sound. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see all of you at the polls of November the 8th.
Okay, you have 45 seconds left over, so.
I don't need it.
We'll go ahead and open the floor now for questions for Mr. Lancaster. Yes, sir.
My name's Richard Lawrence. I serve on the Page County Technical Center Foundation Board. And some of the things I'm concerned about is the young people coming out, being able to find employment. So far, I hear a lot of things about helping downtown businesses. I hear really nothing about trying to attract manufacturing that we have lost in our community. Many people, like 50 to 60%, leave this community every morning for Northern Virginia, Harrisburg, Charlottesville. I'd like to know what the position of the town is to attract businesses that pay more than minimum wage.
I don't think we'll see a lot of big industry come back to Luray. I don't think it's a lot of it out there. We've sent it all overseas. And personally, I would rather see cottage industries, a whole bunch of them, maybe that employ 10 or 15 people. When those businesses close up, they don't all close up at once. So a business closes and you lose 10 or 15 jobs. That's better than being in the situation we were with Bluebell and Luray and Avtex and Front Row. They closed, used 2,500 people a shot. And that cripples the community. It crippled Luray for a while, it's crippled Front Row. And I worked in Front Row for 17 years. And I know what it did to those people when Avtex closed down. And I don't want to see that happen here. I hope we never get another big business, another big manufacturer. Like I say, I would rather see a lot of small ones. Does that answer your question?
I really don't know what they're doing with the Wallace building, but Gail, whatever, I was the one that mentioned about Amazon. I do a lot of data center work and industrial work, and I have never worked in Page County. I've always traveled. It seems like we could do something with the Wallace building to attract maybe Amazon or bring a data center in there. Since we got a 130,000 volt power line there and they have a building, these data centers that go in Northern Virginia are the size of super Walmarts. Dyna Electric right now is going to need 200 electricians just to work at the Amazon and Digital Realty and the Live projects. So I don't understand why we can't be trying to attract, that's a clean business, and trying to attract them to these larger buildings we have.
The Wallace plant was just sold from what I was told the other day, and I really don't know what is going to go in there. I know Mayor Presgraves and the town manager went out and evidently met with the owners, and we haven't got any kind of a report back from them since they went. I'm not sure what's going to go in there, but I hope it's, I know the people that bought it didn't buy just a mere warehouse out of it, because there are a lot of There's a lot of infrastructure there that technical businesses could use, and I hope they do.
Yes, sir. Bob?
I didn't want to get, I've talked a lot tonight, so I didn't want to get to some of it.
No, you should stop now. Go right ahead.
I didn't,
You said it.
yeah, choked it like a lion. I don't have any questions for you, but at this public forum, thanks for coming. And I just want to congratulate you and thank you for your 28 years of great service on the town council and plannings and meetings and things that you're just devoted to, other than the town and its wares. And you came on the town council, I felt really good about that.
About leaving or about me coming over?
See, I asked for that, got right across the forehead. But I mean that, Leroy, you have dedicated your life to this town and to the county and the committees you've served on. You touch people's lives that go way and beyond the town. You're well known in the county, and you're a good guy, and you always look out for the best of the community. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John Mayhew, small business owner. We have quite a few properties, or also some properties that are vacant on Main Street, so everybody's aware. And one idea I'd just like to throw out for everybody to think about is the possibility of buying up those properties, fixing them up, and then renting them out or selling them. This would increase the tax base of the community and do away with an eyesore here and there. It's been successfully done in some cities and towns, and it could be done a few at a time so the town doesn't invest a huge amount of money and risk that. And if it's successful, then they buy more, and that process continues. And obviously, a good start might be Brown's Restaurant. Are there any plans in place for that particular property, and do you have any thoughts on developing the other properties?
We would love to sell Brown's. I'd love to sell it tomorrow. There was a $30,000 study done on that building. It's going to take a pile of money to put that building on the market or to turn it into a theater, a restaurant, apartments, whatever. I'd like to see it done. I would like to see an investor come in here, like came into Gordonsville and more or less bought up Main Street. And if you've been to Gordonsville recently, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been, you ought to take a trip over there. It's worth the ride. They went in there and all the little stores and shops that were on Main Street have now been restored. The place looks beautiful, sidewalks, everything. In Luray, 2 years ago, I think there were 18 or 19 storefronts in Luray that were closed. I think right now, other than, I know there's some that are a work in progress. The young lady here can vouch for that. I think she has 3. But other than ones like her, there are only about a half a dozen storefronts in Luray that there aren't plans for, or there's something being done with them. And I would love it if you would buy up the rest of them and turn them into something beautiful.
Any other questions for Mr. Lancaster?
Thank you. I'm just glad to be here. Like Bob said, I've devoted a lot of my life to the town of Luray, and I'll see y'all on November the 8th.
All right, I'd like everybody to give the candidates a round of applause. have the ceremony right out front here at 11 o'clock. Please come out and join us. Thank you very much.